be more productive after his presentation, especially he is well aware of our problems, challenges, our institutional development challenges, and etc. Please.
Which computer I have mine?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you can find it. No, books coming here. Okay. But you were sitting also, so may I try to sit also?
Yes, please.
So, I would like to first present myself very quickly. I tried to squeeze it into short list, but anyhow, mostly I have been doing last 30 years almost. Well, consulting governments and food companies on food safety, food quality, AKC, CP, and so on. Started a long time ago as a quality director of one Finnish international company. You probably have seen Valio products also here, so I did some 10 years for that. Now been going down while the new member states have doing their system development from the Baltic countries, starting to a little bit in Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, but then Romania, Serbia. Now I have been here for some years. I just want to remind that whatever we are talking about food safety systems, we have to remember the whole chain. There is no way we can pick up end product based quality or safety management system. You have to think about the plow to plate, farm to fork, table to table approach, which is clearly written in the EU legislation also. Some of these translate better than some others, but anyhow, right from the start, there you start creating the safetiness and quite often the quality also. What challenges we are facing right now? So basically the food in the EU legislation and in this wide concept, it includes everything within the food chain. Right from the feeding stuffs, which the animals are going to eat, which then will become food, and all the ingredients, how they are produced, now especially the GMO ingredients, and even one more sort of element in this wide food concept. The new ones, what we see, sure we see new microorganisms right now. They pop up here and there, and when is the Campylobacter the most difficult one? And new chemicals, either intentionally added there or accidentally. In Georgia we have a serious discussion about trans fatty acids, which are naturally in milk fat, and zero limits are very stupid for that kind of thing. Food production techniques, we are talking about different kind of nanomaterials, nanotechniques, how to include even cheeses, some flavors and some beneficial components. Origin, where is the food coming? Is it local? Is it some protected geographical indication food? Is it organic food? This is a very new challenges coming there. Consumers, their behavior, they want something special, and there are a lot of consumers like our dear chairperson who want to pay for the good and high quality products. What we want to remember when we are saying about the extended, the wide meaning of food, we have to remember that there is harmlessness, safety element, that's easy, don't kill anyone. But then we have the wholesomeness. Is it unfalsified? Is it as it should be? And then comes the quality is the widest one. Is the customer, consumer satisfied on what he gets? Somewhere there between wholesomeness and quality there are the ideas of intentional or unintentional misleading information to consumers. You promise a little bit more than it can be, the product can provide. But all three have to be remembered: safe, wholesome, and quality. Now I'd like to go for a very quick introduction to the 400. We have heard the 400 already today. Yes, this is the list of EU acquis what Georgia has promised to approximate. But as Marika said, it is a time-based issue. 2027 are the last ones to be approximated. However, that is not true. We are shooting moving target. So right now there is 400. Next year there will be hopefully only 350. But some what we did already have to be changed again. So we have to be moving all the time. There is no such way that you once do the thing, EU changes it next year, Georgia has to do it again. And that means that we cannot really foresee 2027 when the approximation process is over. It's never going to be over. It will go on, and that is the DCFTA agreement. We have agreed, Georgia has agreed to keep the SPS sanitary and phytosanitary legislation approximated with the EU. What the major area we have is veterinary legal instruments. Okay, we are now, EU introduced just a couple of months ago one big comprehensive document which reduces this 205 down to 150, but still it is a huge one. Huge amount of legal instruments. And unfortunately, most of them are linked to animal welfare, animal health, and most often even cattle health. So they are indirectly linked to milk and cheese. Let's see what topics we have in the acquis under these seven general headings. Topics under these seven general headings include, yes, the food feed hygiene, that is for sure linked to milk and cheese. Official controls, how we check and guarantee that the raw materials and final products are according to the legislation. Animal health, welfare, how to identify the animals where the milk is coming from, what do we do with the genetically modified food and feed. Is it allowed to use, not, where to control. Labeling, food information to consumers, what products are allowed to be called cheese, what are not, what ingredients can be there. Nutritional claims, is this kind of a cheese going to cure half of the diseases and prevent the rest, or what is it? Can you say that about the cheese or not? What supplements, additives, what kind of a contaminants, limits for contaminants, pesticides we have here. So, yeah, I know sometimes I have felt like this, a little bit of papers in my hands and what to do with them, but luckily they are now in computers, so it's much easier now. Now I would like to spend a little bit of your time going through a nice list of questions given to me when this task was given. So I have divided these questions into 4 groups. What kind of challenges there are related to the legislative issues, control issues, support to the sector, and then the market area. And There are two options: either you try to stop me with your questions right there, or after the presentation, it's up to you. I can answer whenever is necessary. Before I go there, I forgot it, I should have said it in the beginning. Yes, the country is proceeding. Yesterday, the Commissioner, the DG Sante, proposed to the European Commission to include Georgia in the list of third countries as honey producer, honey exporter to EU. So little by little we Georgia introduces sufficient control mechanisms which are approved by the EU Commission, and potential markets are open. This will be formally announced in the official journal of EU within next couple of months. Bureaucracy takes some time, but the decision has been made. Next product we don't know, probably some fish related products. Unfortunately, cheese is not there very soon yet, and partially because there are some derogations in the legislation, and partially still some to be approximated, but that will come in, let's say, minimum 2-3 years, even if the decision is made right now, but we will see how it goes. So, these 4 areas. This kind of a questions, 5 questions. Combination of directives and regulations must be met. This is it. I showed the list. You cannot pick up very many just like this. They all refer to something which is the animal health, disease control, under official control, and right there we get to the situation that the milk and dairy products are not accepted in the EU market if the animal health situation, animal identification situation is not under control. It starts from really that kind of a field to fork, really from the stable to table, from the stable. Okay, what is the agency who monitors the regulations in the implementation level? That is the Directorate General Sante. The abbreviation is not anymore an abbreviation, but it is the Sanitary and Consumer Protection in the Commission. They have sort of inspection or attack arm, Food and Veterinary Office, which comes to countries, the third countries who want to be included, but it's also inspects member states on a random basis, seeing that the member states are complying and implementing the legislation in an equal way. And of course then each member state has a competent authority, which is in most of the cases is a very similar. Most of the member states it is very similar than in Georgia, one authority for veterinary food safety and phytosanitary, but then we have something like Sweden who still have the veterinary issues in a separate competent authority. But that's the mechanism. EU doesn't provide any support to the normal standard implementation. That is paid by each member state, and they are even in some cases obliged to ask inspection fees from the companies, especially in the meat side. There is a requirement for minimum fees to be asked from the enterprises. But other cases, it differs between member states through the government they have and the rest of the enterprises, the rest or whatever. EU supports emergency measures, development measures, cases when some new measure is introduced, then most typically it is getting support from the Commission directly. Animal health cases, yes, epidemic, the very difficult cases, African swine fever, okay, that's not a cattle issue, but let's say FMD is very much supported in those countries where it is when they have food disease or feet and mouth disease. Out of the 400 directives, how many, I could say, are directly related to milk cheese production? 3. But unfortunately, as I said, 3, or probably 3. But, as I said, indirectly, all these 3 are referring to the more general ones, on hygiene, on animal health, on additives, on consumer information, on whatever. So, I cannot really answer positively to the question if it is possible to isolate my milk-related directives. No, it isn't. You can start from it, but still there is a lot behind there. The next question is very close to it. Optimize number of directives. I produced that one, I forgot. I did it already. Marika, you have the roadmap for milk and dairy
Yes,
products.
for dairy products, yes.
Yes, so that is the way you can isolate. If you have it, okay, I can send it also, but for the working group. Okay, so I have tried and I have done a sort of table exercise, picking up here and there. And do you remember how many there were? Quite many.
A lot.
Yes, and that is what you can do. And yeah, I make a roadmap. So that can be done, but still it doesn't mean that you end up having these 3 only. So, most challenging, not just those countries where I have worked, the milk and cheese production, most challenging ones are the animal health ones. They are the animal identification so that you know which animal is ill, with whom it was when it came ill, did it infect the other animals, is it sure that the milk which is coming from these animals is coming from a healthy herd? That is the most challenging. Everything else can be tackled, no problem. This was the legislative challenges. Control challenges. Government control mechanisms, stimulating mechanisms to the small farmers. I have seen the most successful thing which I remember was done in which country? Latvia. Yeah. So the stimulation of register all the livestock happened very well. The subsidy per cow is the way to do. The registering happened very well. It was told to the banks that the subsidy will go through a bank, so everyone has to open a bank account. And the bank account, just the bank, we agreed with the banks that yes, get a little bit extra information also there. Because they were happy to get more bank customers. So suddenly we had a lot of livestock owners registered. That was the easiest way which I have seen it coming. And the subsidy stimulated, but the subsidy was not very much even. It was very small. So, but unfortunately when I tried to introduce to some other countries, the politicians said that, if we give subsidy and then we put conditions, so our people don't like it. We just give the money and don't require anything. So, when it's not easy to sell for politicians, unfortunately. They want to have the easy way to give subsidies and not to have any conditions in there. Registering of livestock. Right now, I think the situation is better now. During last 2 years in Georgia, when the FMD vaccination has been free of charge and covering 100%, at the same time there have been a voluntary ear tagging of animals. And depending on the villages, the percentage of those who don't want these ear tags, don't bring their animals to be vaccinated, is somewhere between 5, maximum 10%. So it's quite good. So I think that we are getting better. If there is a stimulant like the vaccine, it also helps. They have seen now that the brucellosis animals, they die. Well, for FMD animals, definitely do. So little by little it is getting better. It's also some sort of awareness issue among farmers. Approach to reduce risk of brucellosis. That is, of course, there is only one approach and one answer to it. It is a compensation of animals to be culled. And without that, we cannot succeed very well. Whatever mechanism there is to compensate the farmer for the animal which is taken out of circulation. With brucellosis, it's easier because that is a disease which the animal can be used for meat production if it goes to processed high temperature treated meat. So we don't need to compensate full value of the animal. But then other diseases, that's a little bit difficult. The problem is what is the right amount of compensation. Market value should be the right value, but where do you get the market value? Even in Georgia you have some animal auctions where you can get the basic idea what is the value of this, the value between 4-year-old cow and 20-year-old cow which has stopped milking already. So you can get some information. Very many countries where I have worked don't give the full value, some 80% or something, so that it doesn't come a business for someone to sell to the government animals. Improvement to control of animal movement rules. That is very rare in member states right now to have so long animal movement rules than Georgia has. Normally what we have in member states is only climbing up a little bit in Austria, Bavaria, Germany, France, this one. So that that doesn't really create a problem that animals meet each other and distribute diseases. The way with animal rules is to separate them as much as possible from other animals. It's not possible right now in Georgia, and I cannot give you any good idea of how EU member states are solving this problem. From economical point of view, movement of animals is stupid. Several 100 kilometers or tens of kilometers. The animal moves, doesn't grow, loses weight, has to recover. You'd rather move the feeding stuff than the animal. You'd rather keep the animal close to the pastures all the time. This one, especially the sheep movement, where you lose some 10% of the young ones and even adult ones, it's not commercially feasible. I don't know what the people are thinking when they are doing it. Well, maybe it's strange. So, okay, then government control over borders. Yes, of course, in EU there are no borders. The borders are linked only to epidemiological zones. So the borders between, okay, right now Northern Italy is already brucellosis free, but that time when it was having still brucellosis program, that was a control of the animal identification and movement control, but it was not the country border. The external borders of EU, of course, are controlled as they are there. So veterinary health certificate and the limitation of which country or part of the country the animal is coming, and is that disease free or not. So that is clear. For products, it's the same. The external borders, the product has to be coming from a country which is in the list of third countries. So the border control of EU checks first. Aha, cheese coming where? This is the list. So no way. This happened with honey already a couple of years ago because the legislation allows test market products to enter. Inspected batch by batch to check markets, and some guys thought that I have managed to get a couple of honeys into EU, so now I'll send a full truckload. And it gets in from Belarus to the Lithuanian border, and the Lithuanian border control checks honey, Georgia, and back it went. But now that situation is going to be improved in a couple of months' time. Then the guys will see, it is in place. So, anyway, estimation of the state budget. This is not the first time when this is asked, and there are a lot of estimates and more guesstimates, but I don't want to. I didn't have time to go through the latest estimates within the DG Sunday. What is the difference between member states? Because some member states have a centralized system, it's easy to take from the central money. But like in Finland, we have 32 municipality food inspection services, which some of them are more supported by the municipalities than some others. I cannot give the full honest answer of the Finnish system or German system, even less. So, but I promise while I send you the roadmap, I can give you some numbers, but they are not to be taken to the last euro. How to improve the market control and surveillance system? Nothing else than to get into the EU system of health mark. Every guy who is selling a product of milk origin has to be registered and has to have a number, and that number can be read, seen in the national competent authorities, national food agencies website. This number is this guy who made this cheese and who is trying to kill me and my family now. So that is the way, no other way. If there is only some company names or something, or not even those, there is a guy selling in the roadside say, trust me, this is great cheese. I personally know the guy who brought it yesterday to here, and or if I remember who it was, but most probably it was this guy, or the cousin or whatever. So that is the only way. There is, I cannot give any other approach. This is the way we have done. How to support the sector? Question of animal feed sales. How to support that? In the animal feed side, it's again the registration of the guys. Requirements for what they are selling. That it is, we have right now there is a clear sales of different kind of feeding stuffs, which no one knows what it was made of, who put it together, and is it good or bad, and do we unintentionally include some unwanted residues there too. That is the way again. Register also the feed, sales feed producing companies. Okay, if you want to go down to create large commercial farms, like Estonia did, right now Estonia has their average dairy farm size is 2.5 times bigger than in Finland. We are still somewhere 60 cows per farm, Estonia is almost 150. So somewhere there, so they have really gone there. They have several really large farms, meaning several hundreds, couple of thousand animals. But as you can see, what my average figure is, still there are a lot of smallholder farms. No country has moved right from small dairy farms overnight into big American-sized 1,000 animals. And even in USA and in Canada, there is a tendency for a so-called closed food. There is a newly emerging small, well, medium-sized 60, 100 animal farms, especially in the northeastern states and Canadian eastern provinces. So basically the smallholder farms don't go anywhere. Okay, they become bigger, but they don't need to jump into the huge size. Sure, we can say that most of the member states still, like in Finland or even France, the reasonably smallholder farms, 30, 50, are still the big milk suppliers. Of course, not anymore 2-3 cows. That is gone. But that we call smallholders still. Right now, I was just visiting a couple of weeks ago in Germany, where the father and his son and one practicant from the nearest agricultural college were running a farm with 80 milking cows, total 200 cattle, with 30 hectares of land. 2.5 people. That's still a smallholder, but the labor costs were very much under control. Not many fancy investments, just a little bit of mechanization. Regulations have not forced very many small holder farmers out of the sector. Most often, I think we have discussed this with Marika, this 70% figure is not just because of the regulations. Most of it was that they were not competitive. Others were better with better products, with more efficient farming. And therefore they either did stupid investments or just realized that this won't do, and I beg and borrow as much as I can and then go bankruptcy. So this is a discussion which was the real root cause and which was not. But what we did in Latvia when we saw these bad 70% figures, we did some really interview-based surveys, and some of the guys, of course, they all blamed the terrible legislation, for sure, first one. But then when we started to see that actually their sales were going down already a little bit before the regulation was fully enforced. But that's, we can discuss this forever. So, sector alliances. Yes, milk producers associations alliances are almost every country. But, like in Estonia right now, the dairy association is sort of closing down. It was very active some 10 years, but now there are so few very big, reasonably big dairy processors, and big farms who don't see the need to have a specific association for that. But on the other hand, even in Estonia and in Finland, where the same thing happened some 10 years ago, there are small cheesemakers associations, small slaughterhouse associations, things like that, which have much more common interest than the big ones who can lobby by themselves, who can protect their issues against the government first with regulations and so on. But these small ones, they are emerging. They sometimes get even support from the government, EU support also among the member states, or like here in the Empire system, to make also the smaller farmers, smaller processors to work together. That sure has been the one. In Finland we create, well actually I created the small cheesemakers standard, how to do a sort of light version of HACCP in milk production and cheese processing, just to avoid this huge paper bureaucracy which sometimes it comes with HACCP. It is easy when you do it simple. We agreed it with the Swedish National Food Agency, and that is the way it is done. This has been done in Sweden, I know in Croatia, in France, yes, France for the small unpasteurized cheese makers, they have their own system also. And support FBOs. That is the thing. It is the EU has a mechanism to support farmers' cooperation, small cheese makers cooperation, and that allows small operators to agree on prices and all that kind of thing without being blamed for market dominance or illegal consortia forming. Market challenges, cheese branding. It's easy to say, I brand my cheese like this. But as all marketing and sales people know, that the brand is a promise. You have to have something in the brand. Just the name is nothing. No one wants to pay for it. It cannot be created overnight. You have to have some clear elements in there which comply with the brand. And that's not easy. That's not easy at all. Everyone is creating brands and fancy names and try to put their colors and all that, which is just marketing people who add it. But it is for the cheesemaker itself to be sure what is the story, what is the promise which this brand is promising. Yes, this is the cheese which makes you as strong as any mountaineer and whatever. These stories make the brand. Without it, it's waste of money. You have to be able to be notified, identified. The buyer has to remember this was the brand which I bought. That's very much consumer brand awareness. Here the price differences with branded cheese and non-branded cheese is still very small. So maybe the Santino is the only example where we have some clear price difference. But when we go down to member states, the price difference is doubled very easily. Some specialty cheeses even much more. And that is still to come, and that means consumers, they have to be more aware. And this is a long thing that you have to get this kind of satisfying experiences to remember this brand. Food hazards. Georgians are not very good in identifying or being aware of food hazards. Antibiotics not taken seriously. Even whatever. GMOs seems to be a very important issue. I don't know if this is the most killing, most dangerous food safety issue in the country, but compared to the legislation, you pay 1,000 lari if you import a product and don't label it GMO, even if it has GMOs, and you pay 100 lari if you poison someone with your cheese which has too much bacteria. So that is not really right. The same thing with the trans fatty acids. I don't think that should be the one where you want to first raise the awareness of food safety issues. So, you didn't manage to stop me, sorry for that. So, now I'm ready for the questions. This is the fully compliant cow, and this one is fully able to enter the EU markets. Oh, even world markets, I think. Thank you.
Thank you much. Another question. So,
You tried to stop me. I have shouted.
I didn't want to stop you because I understand that this is really huge, but just to introduce myself, I am an deputy leader of a project supporting the Georgian government in implementing association agreement, including the DCFTA, what we are doing together with Mrs. Gardini. And we are first of all aware of the burdens related to the process, and first of all of regulatory burdens. But my question and therefore I am of course impressed by your huge numbers of directives and so on.
I'm not impressed, I'm ashamed, so that's a different.
But Georgians' side should not be impressed by it, because as Mrs. Karunian indicated already, association agreement was part of negotiation process, and the whole amount of regulation should be introduced over a period of time, and this should be very much related to general economic policy, I would say. And in this case, it is really pity that we don't have nobody from the Ministry of Agriculture. But I think that even if, as I said, my project is responsible more for introduction of regulation, I think the very important part is accompanying the policy which will allow introducing this regulation in the way that there will be negative social effects, like and now I'm coming to my question, which is you said that not regulatory but burdens, but lack of competitiveness forced out the small producers in a Baltic country from the business. And this is exactly the problem, that these small producers are not competitive.
Yes.
Therefore, the issue is exactly how to change the structure of let's focus now still on cheese production. In the first presentation I missed something like information what the supply chain looks like. But I understand we have small farmers, small producers, probably non-existing wholesale system, and wholesale let's say buyer, like huge supermarket chains and so on. And if we are speaking about the potential for increasing production and sales for domestic market and for export, this system need to be changed. And of course, you mentioned that the MPARC is trying to have this process of creating cooperatives and of the farm. But my question to you is, to what extent it is possible in a case of Georgia to have something like reform of the structure of agricultural production in such, let's say, gradual way that we will avoid this negative social consequence, and let's say to push the roadmap, based on to put the roadmap for regulatory reforms. Do you think there is enough coordination between institutions responsible for agricultural policy and institutions responsible for regulation, food safety,
No, that is the question as I think you come into the coordination area, and I think of course, I think there is more coordination now than there was 4 or 5 years ago. I think you agree. At least, I think there is more now.
5 years ago, we haven't had DCFTA.
We were pushing some food safety approximation, whatever document. So I think we have more coordination now. So yes, but still, I think that one big problem in this is that, for what I have seen, is the problem about differentiating when you are doing control or legislative sort of development. You should differentiate between implementing over some regulation and enforcement. We have had a very bad habit that we don't even want to start implementing because we think about the consequences. And right now, only very recently we have had some pieces of legislation where, yes, everyone should start implementing it now, but we enforce it only a little bit later. That is the way EU does it, everyone who is doing it. However, also the inspection force should start pushing that. Please start implementing. We will come sooner or later. And that went a little bit with the with the HACCP. First the recommendations for a couple of years, but now when it would be enforcement, somehow we are not really there saying that we gave you 3 years, did you do something, now we enforce. So let's say example in EU, the new animal health legislation, which took down some 50 of these veterinary legislations, it is enforced, so it's now part of EU legislation. However, it will be fully enforced only in 2020. So there is very long period. And that kind of things I would rather see than just we don't start to do approximation before 2027. We could start doing it now, let's implement it, but enforce it 2027. This is the way where I'm sort of trying to say you could prepare the people that this is coming, we could highlight it, not just saying, this is EU legislation, you never know how it will come out, but that kind of.
That is the approach the government is pursuing right now, we know that.
That's why I said with the coordination is better too.
I said it's really something what I am very much supporting, because I was working in many countries for implementation of previous agreements with the EU, and we were always asking, okay, they implemented, they voted legislation, are they enforcing this, you know? And this was a question, exactly this should be put clearly that we are implementing, we are raising awareness, we are preparing, let's say, the whole spectrum of measures, economic policy is taking under consideration this new system, but the full enforcement due to negative social and different consequences will go gradually. But it just to put it clearly, not to be ashamed that okay, because this is also a problem that EU should also support enforcement. Therefore, in this case, the government should really play, because we are also asking you, you are preparing reports, and then the questions are from the EU side, is this really enforced? And I think in this SPS, in this related area, there is a full justification to go gradually.
Thank you. Please.
Please introduce yourself.
Mercy Corps LCP program. I want to say first of all thank you for inviting us in this meeting. It's very interesting for us because we are working with the dairy sector also. Now I want to ask one question. We have approximately 31 client cheese factories totally in Pemocati, Samut-Sajabaheti and Achal region, and our clients daily produce 70 tons of milk, and they have 11,900 suppliers, farmers, and they produce this milk. One question which I have and we face with this problem is this is an unfair competition which costs using this powder milk. I want to ask if country we have some legislation or some rules how to avoid using this powder milk, because the production which are made by powder milk is so cheaper than other products which are made by the raw milk. And I know it cannot be prohibited to use this powder milk, but some regulations how to avoid or how to make fair competition for cheese producers. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I interfere? Sorry. My name is Katrina Dobresh and I represent FAO. It's a FAO DRD joint project on improvement of food safety in the dairy sector, which was launched in January last year. And as to the powder milk, I would like to give some figures, because in the last 3 months, like from January, February, March, there is increase in import of powder milk in 70% in comparison to the same period last year. But nobody can avoid the use of powder milk in cheese, because it's, am I right? It's a normal milk when it's added the animal fat and milk fat and water, so it's quite okay. But the point is that